All right, at OGHQ, I suspect we're going to be seeing a lot more of this view, this kind of video where I'm sitting at a table or standing at a table. Hopefully it'll be a much better table than this really soon. I've ordered my Lista packing station, but we're going to fumble through this together in putting together a Cox hose reel. This is the EZ-Coil version, which I custom ordered, and a Prevost Stoflex hose with a Prevost fluid, the newest fluid S1 swivel, and then we're going to put a stop on it and get it all set up and fumble through it. The first thing that happened is I'd ordered the wrong size, and I'll show you where this goes, but this is a hose protection product that needs to be this size. So I actually tore the hose off the one that's on the ceiling already that had the hose that comes standard with a Cox reel that I don't like very much, and so I'm putting this. I need to put this in place, and again we'll show you where that goes. So I started fumbling through another reel, so I'll show you some of the mistakes I made. I think I know how to do it now. I still haven't completed. The reel's sitting over behind us in a giant mess because I'm waiting for these to come, the right size part, but we're going to put one together here and fumble through this and figure it out today. So hopefully I can work through and show you what not to do, right? So the reel it'll come from me in a box, and I'd assumed that I'd be able to just buy these and then ship them to you and use the stock hose that comes with it. So here's the hose that comes stock with the reel. The nice thing about it's a lightweight hose, but I don't know, it's not in the same category. The terminations, the way that the hose is designed, it's just not as good. I suspect this is probably a $30 or $40 hose. I'm not sure. And this is a $135 hose. And by the way, I'm going to be giving people an option in the future to have either you can do the Stoflex hose, which is this one, or which looks very similar, but still I think a much better quality hose. This is a Prevost Airca hose. This is a rubber hose, and this is some sort of hybrid paint grade, super high quality hose. I mainly like it because the green matches the green. Just kidding. Partially kidding. So anyway, we'll have the option for that as well. The difference in price is $135 versus $70, so almost double the cost for this hose. But I went to Cox and asked if I could order the hose reels without the hose. So this is going to be, we're going to call it a custom OG version of the hose reel, which you won't be able to get anywhere else, at least for a while until people start copying me. All right, so this is how the hose comes in the box. You'll have an instruction manual, which if you watch this video, you won't need. I wish I had read the instruction manual before I started putting it together. So the reel comes with a couple of hose stays, right? So it comes with the two hose clamps, the anti-vibration clamps, which we'll have to remove here to get started. But the first mistake I made when I got the hose, on the one that's over here all jumbled up, you have to wind this first, right? So we have to get the spring set. I installed this all, put it in place, installed it, put all the fittings on, wound it up, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't pull back into the reel. And it's because we first have to wind it. So you're going to go clockwise, right? Let me make sure, clockwise from the swivel side, right? So you're going to wind it clockwise until it doesn't wind anymore, and then we'll lock it in place. So now, again, when you're online searching around on these things, you're trying to find a better price. This is an EZ-Coil, so it's very different, much more expensive. I don't know what the price difference is, but it's more costly than the regular version. And the EZ-Coil, essentially, when you let go of the hose, it slowly pulls it in rather than just, launches into the reel. So the spring is different. It's part of the reason why I fell in love with these Cox reels. These have a very sort of handmade feel to them, So they're always, I find that there are little imperfections and things in them, but the overall quality, like if you just feel the drum and you know how they construct it, it's just different. It's a different standard. But when you're dealing with this, I've noticed little things like the hose reels that, you know, for the pressure washing system, you know, they won't be tapped out properly, or some powder coating will get in there. Again, it feels there's a very man-made, very so now you can see the spring stopped allowing us to move. So I'm going to back it off. Just move it so that I can lock it in. So now we're locked. Okay, so we have the spring wound all the way. So again, that's not a knock on them, it's just an observation that there's more of a, yeah, I'm gonna have to change this a little bit so that I can get these up top here. There we go. All right, so now we have our setup. So you can see where this is going to go. It's actually going to go like this. So this will protect us from cutting into the hose as we use the anti-vibration clamps, right? So step one, I don't have the right tools here, so don't yell at me. I have what I have at HQ, or what I brought over this afternoon. Can't wait till I get to the point where I have tools, all right? Tools here, that's on the agenda, and it'd be simple to just buy tools, but I want to obsess over it a little bit. All right, so we need this is a 10 mil, I think. The interesting thing, a lot of these, and I didn't bring my standard size, but a lot of these connections on even the Prevost hoses, they're not metric, they're SAE. So you'll need to grab those if you want to do this right, which I did not. So we're going to fumble through it. All right, so again, first step is to wind it. It's wound, it's ready to go. I'm going to leave this on until the very end. Now we have to, I'm going to go cut this so that I have this undone. I would highly suggest that you cut this with a pair of scissors or dikes or something, not a razor blade. You don't want to cut your $135 hose. All right, so another thing that I've had done, and it just took quite a bit of convincing, is that I wanted our hoses, so this is an OG special here, I wanted hoses to be different sided, right? So I wanted them to be pre-terminated, even though this isn't as pretty as having like a big rubber gasket. I don't think it's necessary on the inlet here, but these are pre-terminated 3/8 on one end, because the swiveling, I guess, outlet to the hose is 3/8, and then 1/4 inch on the other, so that we could take our fluid swivel and thread that on, you know, without any issue. All right, so step one, and this is where it's going to get tricky, so I'm going to take and roll this out. We're going to need the hose to have some twistability, right? Because these are not swiveling ends. Maybe someday I'll be able to get swiveling ends. It's not really necessary, because once we get this fixed, you know, we're done. We won't have to change this again. All right, so step one, I'm going to add my tape, do a few wraps. This is a little thicker than normal, so I'm just going to do whatever that was, 4 wraps tape. I'm going to thread this through here, like so. Actually, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to put this on, and then we'll come back and rethread it. So I'm going to reverse twist this a little bit, so that way when I twist it on, the hose will work a little better. So this is the trickiest part, and this is where having a swiveling end would be an advantage, but once we get this started, we won't have to do this again. It's kind of hard, I'm doing it backwards. I'm going to get in your way here for a minute, get this started. It's going to be great when I get my list of table. Okay. So these are, I had these pre-made with NPT ends. Let's see, what size is this? I think 16 mil fits. Maybe it's 18. It's whatever the equivalent would be. but this fits. So this is a hose reel designed for a 50-foot hose. Typical NPT threads, so they're always going to, it's never going to go all the way in. We need to take our spring-loaded protector and we need to thread it on. Actually, first we need to thread the hose through. This is where if you wanted to, you could thread it through first, but I like doing it this way. At least I think I do. We'll find out when I do the 4th hose reel. Again, I was thinking about sending these assembled, but this would take so long and be so labor intensive. And maybe someday when I have some clout with Cox, when we sell our 1000th hose reel, I can convince them to put my hose in here for me. Put the Prevost hose in for me. But for now, I think this is part of the fun for people to, well, that's not going to work so well, is it? Let people do this themselves, because most of us that are going to buy this enjoy this process of assembling. So at least I'm giving you the video to make it a little easier on you so that you don't have to do this from scratch. And learn like I learned, where I forgot to wind up the darn hose reel before I did all this work and to take it all apart. All right, so we want a little pigtail here so that we don't want to kink. So we need to make sure that, but we also don't want it sticking out so that it creates a problem. Let's take our spring-loaded protection and run it all the way down the hose. So you can see that will go in place to keep us from having the hose cut. And we'll combine that with our fixed anti-vibration clamp. I think we want it this way, yeah. The head of the screw goes on the inside. Although I think I like the idea of doing it the other way, but we're going to follow the way that it came on the reel. There's probably a reason why the hex head goes on the outside. Gee whiz, man. If I had the right tools, this would be easy, but I don't. So it's not. Dude, I'm doing it the other way. That's way easier. Then we take the other anti-vibration clamp. I put that one on the inside, and that locks this in place. This would be way easier if I had the right tools. All right, so now we got that locked in place. So now I can take and release our hose. Uh-oh. Did I do something wrong? What did I do wrong? Is this thing backwards? heck's going on here? That's the hole. You idiot. I think I put this on backwards, didn't I? Yeah, it's supposed to come the other way. That's when I thought I had it all figured out. I did it backwards. The hose whip has to come around the other way. Stupid. Don't do that. It's all right, easy fix. Guess we can't be good at everything in this life. My skill set is certainly not figuring out things the right way the first time. I'm going to chalk it up to this is how I do this on purpose so that I show you all the possible mistakes. That's an easy one to make because it looks the same. There we go, that makes more sense now. Goes like this. So how do we quantify that? Yeah, you want the whip, or you want the radius to face toward the guide, not the other way. All right, let's do this again. Make sure we got enough here, protect the hose from getting cut. Take our other anti-vibration clamp. Let's flip this around for you so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. It's much easier to do it this way. Go 10 mil, tighten it down. Okay, now it should work. There we go, that's more like it. So now this should wind up nicely since I've pre-torqued or pre-tightened the spring. I just have to get all the kinks out of my hose. That's pretty. So notice how the hose reel isn't like, it's not yanking this super quickly. All right. Okay. So let's lock it. And now this come through here, right? And so now we're going to want to set our stop. Now I'm going to install this, but we're going to eventually set this up for the height that we need later. All right, so this is going to go on, but we don't know where the stop needs to go until we get to see, you know, when it's hanging from the ceiling. So let's just pick a spot and we'll put it right here. Dang, that looks pretty. I should not be this fired up about a hose. Boom, so then our hose stays, right? Okay, I actually want to, we're certainly going to need more slack than that. So let's move this down. You just want to make sure you torque this down evenly. So it's nice and flat. So now let's tape our end. And the fluid swivels are still in back order, so hopefully they'll be in here shortly. But let's tape our end. Now we want to make sure with these products with anything air related that you don't get any Teflon tape in the lines. You don't want to ruin your tools. At least that's what I've always thought. So these swivels, the 360-degree fluid swivels have a 1/4 inch end, so we have a 1/4 inch end here. So the first thing we want to make sure we do is that you put the grommet on first, or the little protective cover here, finishing grommet here on first, because you don't want to have to take this back off if you can help it. So this is a 1/4 inch end. This is why it was so important that we got 1/4 inch fittings on this side. So let's torque this. So this is a true 21 millimeter, and then the hose is probably an SAE size, but I think 14 millimeter. No, 15 millimeter. I think 15 millimeter sort of fits. That's 16, 18, 15. This is another one of those things that people are going to have a hard time with. This is a $97 swivel, all aluminum, super lightweight, completely fluid. So I know people are going to have a hard time with this, but with the cost of this, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. And in typical NPT fashion, these threads are not equal, so it doesn't go all the way in. But we want to make sure we get it nice and tight. We pull this up like so. Now, I think what I'm going to do in the future is I think I'm probably going to run like a bead of super glue on this so that this grommet stays in place. So first thing to note with this, man, look how good that looks. Blue and green, looks amazing. Of course, you can save yourself $70 by doing a different hose, and then you could save yourself another $70 by doing a regular S1 coupler instead of this full swiveling. So when I say this is fluid, we have swiveling capabilities here on this plane, but then also on this plane. And so if you ever go to Prevost site and you look at a picture, they show you a picture of this thing like this at a right angle. It's just like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. What do we mean swivel? And so this fluid capability, since you can swivel at all angles, makes it great for any kind of polishing or anything like that. At least I think it does. I haven't used it a lot yet. So the S1 coupling is the advantage of it is it's a double release, right? So I press the button and then I'm able to pull it off. So if you do this with a normal coupler, first of all, you'd have to push down in order to get it to release, and then if you're not careful, you shoot the thing across the room. Or this has a slow or a gentle release, so you click once, it releases, then you can pull the rest of the way out. And so it's just it's a system that's just so much cleaner and neater and nicer than any other type of connection. Now, I've chosen to adopt, so the green button ones, there's blue, there's red, there's black, there's yellow. I'm choosing to adopt the green standard, not because it matches the green hose. I mean, that is kind of cool. But the main reason to do the green standard is that it's high flow. And so the size of the hole is much bigger. So we theoretically would get better performance. This is called European high flow. And so if you're concerned about, well, I don't want to adopt high flow because all my tools have a standard, standard fitting. Well, I'm going to be selling plugs. The plugs are like $1.80 or something like that, or $2. They're like $2 or less. And so you can buy new female and male plugs. I think what I'll probably do is, if you buy a hose reel, we'll probably include a dozen of those, so you can go swap out all of your fittings. I got to figure out what they cost, but we'll probably add that as a drop down where you can add those to your cart, so you'll be able to get the right fittings for the high flow fittings for all of your tools. So let me grab one of my tools that I set up. So most tools are going to come with the wrong size plug. So here's the LTA 125, which I'll put, and you'll see me using these often here in the future. But notice the capability, the swiveling capability. So as I'm polishing, I can put this up over my shoulder, and I have complete fluid swiveling capabilities for whatever I'm doing. Now, that may annoy or not, I'm not sure. We're going to test it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be great. Worst case, I'm going to be selling the regular couplers as well, but I think that the combination of this with our air tools, with our ability to, you know, blow off tools or blowing out pads or doing any kind of work with any ratchets or anything like that, it's just a really nice system and expensive, but this is the ultimate setup. So we're looking at about $250 for the hose reel. And that's these. So I'll have formal pricing in the store, but just to give you a reference for what this costs, it's about $250 for the hose reel. That would come with the anti-vibration clamps, would come with the spring, you know, hose protector, would come with the stop, the hose stop, and of course the reel, the EZ-Coil Reel, which is a 50-foot capacity, and then it's $135 for the hose, and then the coupler's another 96 or 7, I believe. You know, so we're looking at what, 250, 380, and another say $100. So we're looking at what, $470 for this. You know, $450 to $500 for this reel. But this is one of those things that you buy for the rest of your life. You know, so I think that it'll be worth the cost. The other thing that I'll be working on here and showing you a little bit more about is, you know, we do need to get air into the thing somehow as well, and so I'm going to tackle that here in a follow-up video. But I wanted to share with you the process of figuring this stuff out. I have 20 of them over here. I don't have my swiveling couplers yet. I guess they're on back order, or they're coming in from France, where this stuff is made. So anyway, Cox hose reel, OG style. I'm going to create some name for it or something like that. But I wanted to bring you guys along in the process. I'm just figuring it out here. You saw me put it on backwards. So I'll be sure to update you with more. If you want one, email me. I've already sold 4 or 5 of them to people, and I don't even know if it worked yet. So those guys that are patiently waiting for it, I'll be shipping them out here soon. I'm waiting for the springs to come in, and then I've got to wait for the couplers to come in as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned for more crazy. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor,